All right. So, woo, it's been a long day, and I want to review today's trades. This is something I should have probably done ahead of today, and not to be doing today in particular. But uh, I was feeling lazy. To be told, that's the truth. I was feeling lazy. So I'll start with GU because GU is the first trade. I'm reviewing for two trades. I'll start with GU and then I would move on to EU. All right, so let's start from the weekly. So on the weekly, what I have here on the weekly is I have my buy side liquidity up here. We saw price literally do this. We saw price the come into this week, tap the fair value gap in here, and then reject of the fair value gap. The rejection in here was not so strong. However, when you look at how price rejected in the same week on DXY, in DXY, price had literally tapped the fair value gap there and rejected strongly. If you look at the same rejection that happened in EU, it was also pretty strong. EU's own was very, very strong. So we have price enter here and strongly rejected. So in as much, so even though GU did not have such a strong rejection, I was bullish on GU because I know that the other two pairs that I would usually use to correlate GU had rejected strongly of that particular fair value gap. So that gave me a bit of confidence in my analysis. Moving on to the daily, what I saw in the daily was in the daily, GU rejected strongly on Thursday, and moving into Friday, I didn't have a trade in here, but it continued of that rejection. Now, right from seeing this, I was long because number one, we haven't actually broken structure. My buy invalid is still here, so we actually haven't broken structure. We've tapped into the daily order block. All right. So now we've come back. We've tapped into the daily order block. We have the mean threshold here of the daily order block. Price comes, hits the mean threshold, and rejects off it. So that looks like a very solid one. And looking at how we rejected all that fair value gap on the weekly, it gives me even more opportunity. Gives it more potential for us to see a price run. All right. Now, moving into the next day. Okay, no, so coming down to the 4 hour, or even let's stick to the daily. So looking at the daily, immediately I was looking at price, potential places price could go. We're looking at uh we're looking at price going hitting this fair value gap. If it's going to reject and keep going down, I'm assuming price will have to hit this fair value gap before it comes down. We also have this other block here. So if price is going to see an issue before moving up to liquidity here, for now long term, this is actually my drawn liquidity. I'm actually looking at seeing price push all the way up to the weekly buy side liquidity. All right, unless everything is proved to be invalid, but for now I'm looking at price pushing up to the weekly. Probably have multiple uh, chances to enter within that particular trade, but that's generally where I'm looking at price heading towards. I came down to the 4 hour. I have I drew my fair value. This was I think it was an inverse fair value gap. I don't think this was it. I think that particular one was on EU, right? But this is an inverted, this a daily fair value gap. Right, so this is a daily fair value gap, not an inverted fair value gap. I think the inverted was on EU actually. Uh, what I write here? Okay, so I think this is for when I entered. So generally, my daily bias was bullish, right? So entering into the day, I was just looking to see how price was going to act. I was looking to see how price was going to act. Now we have our range here. We have our range here, somewhere around here. This was our Asian range. So this was our Asian range. We came, we saw price take this out. Now this became my break of market structure. This was too close for me to consider this as my break of market structure. So this is actually what I was using as my break of market structure. Price came, it took this out, but it didn't confirm here. This was actually my confirmation candle. So price comes, takes takes it out here, draws back. But now, one of the things I've noticed in my back testing, which I wasn't very comfortable with initially, is that sometimes price will come, it will go out. Once it confirms here, it might draw back in, but it might only be drawing back in into a fair value gap. See, so I saw that price came in, it entered into a fair value gap. My advantage here was, well, it was not supposed to be an advantage, but it was supposed to be a disadvantage. But price tapped this in and I was sleeping at this time instead of being awake. But I woke up around here only to check the price and price was here. I was so scared and I was like, how am I going to take this trade? But I entered the trade regardless. And uh, I saw one of the things I noticed was I like how price rejected of the mean threshold on the 15 minutes order block. It looked so perfect. See how price just the body just sits on that main threshold, sits on it here, and begins to just reject off it. And then from there, now even here, I was not even expecting price to shift so much because whilst I was looking at price delivery, I was very mindful of the fact that we hadn't yet entered the New York kill zone. So I know that usually in between the London and New York kill zone, you could see price go the opposite direction. So I was very mindful of that coming when I was looking at this price action. Heading into this, suddenly we see a takeoff. We see price just take off like that. In terms of stops and targets, I had my TP1 hit around here. It was a little low because this was not supposed to be. I don't think this was supposed to be a valid. Yeah. See, so this other block was not actually valid. I shouldn't have used this other block as what as a target, but I use it as a target because my next target, which was I think a 4 hour fair value, a 4 hour order block, my next target, which was a 4 hour order block, was a little too high. Was a little too high for me. It would have put me around 5.8 before I saw that one getting taken out, and I wasn't too comfortable with that. So I had to like just take some off initially. So I was looking for just a reason to take some off initially, right? So I took some off there. I took some off there. All right. So like I was saying, I I saw this opportunity to take my first TP out, and I took my first TP out here, and there was a second TP that was taken out here. Uh, Over here, this was my next take profits target, right? But I took some out just below it. Reason being that I was mindful of the time, and this was around 4:30. Market was closing, and I was so close to the target. I was not about to just let that go just because usually what happens is that when it enters Asian range, we are gonna see the price drop before it goes up. And sometimes I can just drop and keep dropping. So I was not going to take that risk and just have that drop all the way. Yes. Looking at this right now, heading into Asian range, I'm mindful of the fact that I have uh, this drop around here, so I can move my stops here because this other block should ideally protect me. If not, I might rather bring my stop somewhere here so that at the very least, what's going to happen is if price drops down, it might it might take this out and then keep going. I don't see it. Let me check for fair value gaps. It's something I'll have to probably check on. and analyze my trade very well because price has not gone too far off here. So this might not be a valid order block. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at for GU. EU, we had a very similar structure to GU. Very similar. Strong, very strong bullish candle. Very strong bullish candle from Friday. I entered into that trade. That was a profitable trade, and I'm still holding that particular trade actually. So that was a strong one. So I was still bullish on EU. Moving into the 15 minutes after what happened in the landing kill zone, I I noticed that in the near kill zone for EU, I had a trade entry as well. I entered pretty late, as you can see here, but it was supposed to be down here. But I'm still using my stops as though I entered here. A much more favorable position would have for my stop should be here. The only reason why it's here is because of the time I entered, but ideally it should be somewhere here for me to be more protected. I'm looking at the fact that we have multiple uh, multiple candles that could act as other blocks, right? And when I switch to the 30 minutes, I can see that this is still here. So I'm not too sure how I feel about this because price could potentially drop down here and then before it starts going up. But I'm observing to see how price reacts. Given the perspective on the week, I'm not sure it's going to do that, but then again, it's price. It can do whatever it wants to do sometimes. Stops and targets for GU for the trade for EU. So I have a much larger stops and targets for here. I already have my I already have it outlined, but I'm looking at this for my final take profits. I'm looking at the top of the weekly fair value gap. So that's the top of the weekly fair value gap. It's coincides with the monthly fair value gap as well. So should price go to that place, that would be nice. And if it hits that, I think I'm done for my funded accounts phase one, and that would be a nice exit. All right. So that's my recap for today's trading.